Nikki,
Hi, Christi.
it's so good to be with you. I've really enjoyed your behind the scenes work with Awaken this year. It's such a relief to have recurring monthly income with you.
Oh, excellent. No, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, so Nikki, are you've been working in marketing for quite some time. Do you want to give us a quick intro to what kind of work you do?
Yeah, for sure. I think some people call me a digital dinosaur, as I started digital marketing in 1999, believe it or not, when it was still very much narrowband and ginormous PCs. I've kind of ridden the dot-com bust and boom and wave since the very beginning. I have the pleasure of running Ethically now, which is a very boutique agency, very much focused on people and planet. So coaching is a lovely fit for the things that I do. And across those it's 26 years now, it's a bit scary. There's not probably anything in digital I haven't done, tried, tested, worked on. And I kind of learned really early on that if you were going to be successful, you couldn't move too far away from how the engine room worked. So that's very much the hands-on element. Yeah, believe it or not, I still do all my own Google ads and SEO optimization and remain very much at the cold face, but with a quite a large number of years experience.
All right, so we can be dinosaurs together, although I don't know. I'm a dinosaur in my own realm, but you can be the dinosaur in the digital marketing space. I
Thank you.
love your company name, Ethically, which is part of why Emma and me and our team loves to work with you. Do you want to tell us a little more about why you called it that?
Yeah, so it was very interesting that I think, life has its moments. And obviously, the arrival of my son was a very significant point in my life. And can't believe he's 13 in a few weeks. And, I don't know, you grasp onto the fact that the planet isn't just for this lifetime, it's for lifetimes to follow. And I really kind of started on a very personal conscious journey into, plastic free or managing my waste better. And, that kind of transported me through, his early years and, very much buying secondhand toys and such like. And, in that, it kind of dawned on me about 20 years in digital that probably the best thing I could do for the planet was to give back my skills to people that also cared. And so Ethically was conceptualized. And, there's not many people to say thank you, COVID, but actually my business that I was running at the time was very similar, called Digital Rocks. And ultimately, everyone went on furlough in the UK. So I immediately had no clients. Thank you, the world, for that moment, because actually it gave me the chance to launch Ethically, which I did so in 9 days flat. And it took me 6 months of very much putting myself out there into the sustainable, ethical world, through podcasts and the like. And I won my first client, I think, about 3 months into Ethically's journey, and really haven't looked back since. So it's a fabulous world where there's a real community of people that care, and we all kind of work together in the sense that, every small step counts. And for me, Ethically, it is about making those small steps to really make, the planet better for the people and the people better for the planet. And so, yeah, coaching and the style of coaching that Awaken offer is, just hugely beneficial to people's makeup and ethos. So, yeah, very pleased.
Yeah, sounds like we've been on parallel tracks. We also launched Awaken during the COVID. I remember I was stuck in the Tel Aviv airport going, oh my goodness, the world is shutting down. Time for a big pivot. And Awaken was born about 3 months later. So
Yeah.
really similar time frame with Ethically. So we've got a bunch of Awaken grads, which we're so happy about. We're nearing about 150 of us who've taken the course since 2020.
Yeah, fabulous.
And So we're just going to, for the purposes of today's conversation, assume that these coaches have gone ahead and put together some sort of a basic website. Maybe it has an about page, and um, they've got a coaching offer that has some steps to it, or they've got something that they're offering on their website. And in comes Nikki and ethically to tell us the next steps. Like, how does this website work? How do people find it? What do they do once they get there? So just to help us create the whole world around, like if the website was a small hub, where do people come from and then where do they go from there? Is that a good way to put what we're doing today?
Yeah, no, for sure. There's obviously getting that foundation right and getting the ability for clients to be introduced to you via your digital proposition. That's essential. So we're going to assume that that's done. So it's how can you get people to your website? So there's a vast array of organic techniques. And the word organic to me is that they don't cost anything. Obviously, there's a whole array of paid routes, again, which can work out effectively. But for the purpose of today, I'm going to sort of zone in on the sort of organic sort of marketing techniques you can use to sort of get those clients coming into you.
Organic sounds so ethically, and we also like the word free around here, especially when we're starting out. All right, so free ways to get organic ways to get aligned clients. Where do we start?
So I think obviously you've got this website. So organic search, that is the listings within Google and Bing, and obviously wherever you are in the world, there are some more niche search engines. That's obviously a great place. I'm going to caveat straight away, it's a long-term game. So you won't be that you do organic work to boost your organic visibility and then the next day you're number one. It's kind of like a labour of love. And if anything, it's the one thing that can really establish you very, very well and into a market. But it is something that's probably the hardest and longest piece of work to do. So really, organic can get a bad name in the sense that, oh, it's a dark art. How do I do it? And there's lots of, you know, things that need to be done. Well, there obviously is an array of things you can do, but don't get scared about organic because organic is about being relevant. And if you just hold that premise of relevancy in everything that you do, you actually deliver organic improvements to your website. So relevancy starts with kind of knowing what would someone type into Google to find you, and quite often don't go with what you think immediately. So that's always, never make that assumption. So there's that saying, isn't it? Assume makes an ass out of you and me. It is the
I
case
love
with
that.
this.
Can you give me an example? I want to use Awaken as the example. Like, I might imagine that people are looking for coach training if they're looking for Awaken Coach Institute, but do you happen to know off the top of your head what people are looking for that brings them to Awaken?
So probably not the exact after the off the top of my head, but one thing that would stand out that's kind of unique is spiritual, holistic. And those keywords really kind of start to represent the difference in coach training. So although they appear obvious, you might think coach training is your keyword, but actually that's quite a big keyword. So
There might be like 400 other coach training people that get more hits. And so when you're talking about this dark arts of like, this is a labor of love, it can take a lot of years before you're in the first page of a keyword search with those big keywords. But you're saying that if Awaken really focuses in our SEO, our search optimization words, if we use words like spiritual or things that set us apart, we're much more likely to be seen quicker. Is Mike getting that right?
that's exactly it. So yeah, coaching is a broad spectrum. You can have life coaches, you can have business coaches, leadership coaching, and they are all very, very big pillars of search in the market. Now, as a one-on-one, as a small coach, you are just offering your services. Those big keywords probably are a little bit out of your, your remit. But if you've
So if
got
you just had coaching was your keyword, you're going to be on page 649 of the Google search. So what would be some examples if somebody had a really clear niche in their coaching business, what might be like 2 or 3 keywords that would bring people to them?
So some of the words, with obviously the awaken concept, you've all gone through the training. It is words like holistic, meditative. So having experienced some of the coaching myself, actually transformative. And this is where you can actually go to your clients. Obviously your clients are there. How would you describe the type of coaching I do? If you've got a mental block, don't let that be the block. Ask your clients, what would you type into Google to find now you've experienced it? And although, you might find keywords that have only got 10, 15 people searching on them a month, that A, the ability to get to page one is a lot easier. And B, then the relevance of what you do is immediately synergized with the keyword. It's, ask your clients, ask friends and family, how would you describe? And if you actually haven't found your niche, I really would recommend finding a niche. So
Do that. Know who you want to serve and how you want to help them. Yeah, because just selling coaching doesn't really work, but helping people get from point A to point B, if you want to be a coach of neurodivergent stepmoms or something, people are going to look for that much more specifically than just coaching.
yeah, exactly that. And, so it's that finding that niche and that relevance and that keyword and then really building that across your website. So if someone arrives at the homepage, a good UX test for SEO is in 5 seconds, can someone tell you what you do? So that entry hero banner or opening gambit text needs to be digestible to say that's what I do. So just write the words of what you do that's relevant to the keyword and the niche you said. So, this whole dark art, it doesn't exist. It's okay, well, this is what I do and this is how I'm going to say it. And someone will understand that in 5 seconds. And if you haven't managed to do that, then that's where you go back to the drawing board again. If it takes
Yeah.
you 500 words to explain what you offer, then again, you've probably overcomplicated it. So organic
Yeah,
is,
and I mean, so many of us are looking at fonts and colors and um, writing a whole lot of text and all of this. And so it's really helpful to know that, like, okay, the first thing people see, yes, your face, I would guess, because that's really important. People are going to be working with you and you want them to know that you're a real person. Um, and then having that tagline,
yeah.
like,
One of the really good ones you could go and Google after this session is Simon Sinek's Why, How, What, which is like a pyramid of messaging, and it's answer the why first. Why would you use this? Why would my service be relevant to you? And then the how is how it happens, and then the what is the granular detail. So again, in that focus, the why has to be within that 5 seconds, grasp everything, the reason why you're there. So, it flips it on the, don't do the what first, do the why you would. And then that helps you to explain it in a very condensed format. So that's, immediately that's take a look at your website straight away. Again, ask friends and family. If you come to my website, what do I do? None of this is rocket science, but it is a case of you can overcomplicate it or even simplify it too much that that immediacy doesn't happen. So that five
right.
seconds is really, really important. And then obviously when you've got that, you've nailed that entry point, it's then talking about that relevance in words. So unfortunately, there's a few things that I always joke. There was probably male joke more than anything in it, is that length is strength and size matters. So in this, it's about having text that's well laid out and writing enough detail that you're giving the search engines their food to feed that relevance. One big caveat, though, immediately is it has to be readable on a mobile. So I'll give you just a couple of things. If it goes over 250 characters, 2 paragraphs, you're going to create a wall of text. And a wall of text doesn't get read. The people typically read the intro header, first line of the paragraph, then they'll skim to the next top of paragraph, whilst you've got to, explain yourself and write depth, there's ways and means that it's not necessarily about big, huge paragraphs. It's about kind of writing for the web. That was, believe it or not, when I first started out, I was numbers all the way. And, I even struggled writing day-to-day emails. But there is a really good free writing course, Writing for the Web, on via a website. I'll put the links on to accompany this podcast, but Enchanted Marketing. And I read it about 10 years ago, and within 2 days I could write for the web. And it is the most easiest to digest, free course. And it goes against probably what your English teacher taught you at school as well. So you can start sentences with and they can be one word. But that kind of captivating writing and writing about what you do, that niche, will naturally encapsulate keywords. So don't sit there and go, my keyword is this, I have to repeat it 5 times on my page. Just write about the relevance you have to the keyword or the niche you're selecting. And that Google's intelligent enough these days that it will interpret that and give you emphasis around what you do.
Right. So if you're a mind body coach and you help people heal from chronic pain or whatever it is, and that's what you're writing about,
Yeah.
chronic pain and healing and health, and those things are naturally going to be part of what you write. You know what you're doing. Let the SEO searches
Yeah.
find you.
Yeah, don't overcrank it. Write for your audience. Write it so it can be read on a mobile easily. And then the naturalness of the service you'll offer will come through. And that's what makes websites have relevance to the keywords that they're targeting. Not chronic pain is this, chronic pain healing does this. I'd immediately be switched off because I'm not necessarily feeling the service. So yeah, it's really flips it to express yourself the best you can, but in the way that it doesn't necessarily keyword, what's the word? Hammer.
Right. And I think what do you want to say about just answering your ideal client's questions?
So that's just a minefield for great content. So again, this is sort of something that's taken over the market is AI. As I'm sure you've all seen, your search results are being answered immediately by AI and providing links through to your website. So answering questions is food for the AI part of the search engines now. And if they're all super relevant to what you do, going back to that word, I might say it a few times, you'll find that the question and answers themselves might jump you to the top of the search engines. And again, if it's unique and high quality, what you're offering, it's different. It's not something you've copied from someone else. You've taken the Awaken Coach training and you've developed it into your niche. Then answer the questions as around that. And again, they have the huge chance of being picked up by the AI element of the Google and Bing tools.
Mm-hmm. And then we're also wanting to let people know that not only do we really want to help them, which I think is important, but that we can help them and providing some insight into our expertise, the authority that we have. And so sometimes that can be an issue for new coaches when they're just graduating. Maybe they don't even have a credential yet, but they're putting themselves out there. And so there might be a mix of expertise that you bring. How would you talk about yourself in an authoritative way as a new coach?
So there's 2 routes here. One is the kind of search engine route. So it's interesting you picked up on that, but there's something called Google E-Eat. It used to be Eat, it's now E-Eat. And that stands for experience, expertise, authority, and trust. Now, experience, obviously, if you're a newbie, your experience stems from your life experience, I would suggest. So you can have content about you. So quite often there's a natural affiliation with when you're a coach, you become that because of something you've experienced. And that is experience that people would like to read about. So you tick the box for the search engine, but you're also showing that the user on your site why your services are relevant to them because you experienced it
Yep.
yourself.
So you're not necessarily saying, I'm a coach because I'm coaching, because I've been coaching for 6 months and because I've got this coaching. But you might say, are you a stepmom wanting better relationships in your family? Guess what? I'm a stepmom. You're telling your story. People are trusting you because you're a person, you're real.
Yeah, that real person to person connection, it is vital. And yeah, it doesn't matter if you haven't had 100 clients. It matters that there's an experience, there's a reason why you did this, and it could be, it doesn't have to be direct to you. It may be, I've got a friend who does alcohol free coaching, and her experience, she's given up, but she sees it as so important that she's turned that into a career. There's a lovely story behind that. But you've got someone that's a pain coach that's seen experienced pain in their family, and actually their experience came from helping someone else. So I'm certain there's a story behind the experience angle, even if you're just starting out. The expertise, this is where Awake can come in. You're ICF accredited. Have a link on your website to the ICF accredited website. Have a link back to Awaken. This is where you got qualified. Now that is a rubber stamp, and search engines love it. It ticks off the expertise box of Google E8, and again,
Use our
confidence.
logo liberally. We love it. We've got a lovely logo with the Tree of Life, Awaken Coach Institute. If you're an alumni, stick it on your web page, put it up on LinkedIn. Go feel free to build on the credibility that we have here for sure.
Yeah. The other one is linked to your LinkedIn profile, and also again mention your accreditations and Awaken there. And you're creating this kind of this thing that I'll talk about more in a minute, this sort of spider's web of this is where I got trained, this is me on LinkedIn. It becomes believable, not only to your audience, but to the search engines.
You're not one of those dudes in the medical doctor coat with a puppy and one picture on Facebook where you're like, really? You want to be my friend? No, you've got like the same story going on multiple platforms. It gives some detail about yourself.
Yeah, and it creates this kind of what can only be described as a spider's web of connections through links that the search engines love, but it also gives your users and your potential clients routes to go and verify who you are. They're probably embarking on something that means an awful lot to them, that they're not going to just choose someone off the top of a list in a directory. They're going to want to know a little bit more. So by opening up that landscape that you have digitally is really hugely valuable.
Mm.
So the A in EAT is authority, and that kind of really just stems back from what I said. Authority comes from reputable sources either linking to you or you linking to reputable sources that are off your site. So authority is still based on the number of links your website has, but whatever you do, don't ever go down the route of buy 1,000 links for £100. That sort of stuff is done and dusted. I'd rather you have 3 good links, and that
Link
is
to authors you really love. Like I'm trained by Brene Brown, so I can go and link to her Dare to Lead book. Or, if there's spiritual teachers that I really appreciate, I can link to the Dalai Lama's page. Like just show who you actually enjoy and are interested in. And and even in the awakened community, we can link to each other. We can create friendship links. One person who coaches for stepmoms is not really in competition against somebody who's a mind body coach or a parenting coach or a leadership development coach or whatever. We can create these networks of community where we're supporting each other.
that's exactly it. And what you've said, Christy, this is the bit that most people don't think is the case. But a link out from your site actually is called something called the city technique. And that's where you align yourself with great content or reputable sources. And you've got to visualize these things aren't human, they're bots. Now they follow that link to that site and they go, oh, that's really interesting. It's a site about stepmoms and the troubles that they had and all the research and stats about, in whatever country you're in or globally. Oh, and this, go back to where I was. Imagine they've just come back. This is all happening in nanoseconds. oh, this site is all about stepmom coaching. Hang on a second. Now that makes a lot of sense. And look, they're, the first thing they've said on their homepage, the thing that they've got in their page title, which is the metadata. Oh, it's all about, let's move them up the rankings to that niche keyword. Linking out is a fabulous and easy way of building your site's authority. Alongside this whole option of, linking, getting links back in doesn't have to be an onerous task. Like you say, you've got the awakened community. There could be a gang of you. How I operate with ethically is I don't employ anybody. What I have is a suite of, turns out a lot of them are mums, that, my designer who designs my website is my school friend. My copywriter I worked with in the early 2000s, and we have a network, and it's non-competitive, and we all work super well together. That goes to, like Christi said, it goes the same with coaching. It's like if you've got a niche and you're not coaching the same as anyone else's niche, well, buddy up, link yourselves all together. And also, if you get a referral or lead in that's not relevant to what you do, share. If I get a client come to me and it's not a service I offer, but one of my colleagues, and I don't know, for me, karma, it happens and it is real. You've got that for authority.
Anything else you want to say about using images on your website? How does that work?
Just before we jump on there, Christi, I've got the T of
the
T.
T. We haven't covered trust yet. Yes.
Yeah. Trust is actually hugely simple. It's when you have got a client base and you start to build it up, get reviews. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that with Google Business, but get reviews on your site and, having people's real words explaining how beneficial you've offered them, no brainer. You'll see it across a lot of coaching sites. It's there for a reason, and it ticks a trust box with the Google E8 methodology.
Wonderful. Yeah, and we start that early and often. I mean, I hope everyone who goes through Awaken, you're always in a cohort of a dozen or less people, and you know each other really well. And so I just recommend that those dozen, everybody give everybody else a LinkedIn testimonial. Everyone just write a quick note. You've all been coached by several people in the course. Write them a testimonial and have them write it for you. That's gonna up your trust because you did a great job and you did add value to the people you've already coached, whether they were pro bono or peer coaches. You still did a wonderful job and they're going to have good things to say about you. So do it for one another.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just going back to your images bit. This I always find is the one that just gets missed. So going back to our little bot, I don't know, I envisage him as a little spider bot. So he sees an image on your site. He doesn't have any eyes, and I don't know why he's a male either, but he can't see what your image is about.
Little spider male. Yes, Peter Parker.
So bots basically need things around your imagery to understand what your image is about. So the first thing is, and this is be something that, ultimately, if you haven't done it from word go, you can migrate to it over time. But most people upload images to their site as a file name, like image 123. That tells you nothing about what's in the image. If your image gets loaded into your website, mind and body healing, aura, coaching service, you can actually weave your keywords and niche into image naming. Whilst the image itself isn't necessarily, text and words, the file name is, and again, our little bot will spot that's relevant. And then obviously with an alt tag in the image, which most websites allow you to optimize or add to. Now, alt tags are for accessibility. So I don't suggest you just write your keyword in there. It could be this is a person who has received mind and body healing coaching. You can massage it so that the image isn't going to be necessarily it might not be a client, it might be an image of a person who's feeling better, but you can suggest that that image is there. And again, you just weave your relevance into your visuals, your file name and your alt tag. Really very simple to do, but you'd be amazed at the benefit that gives to the rest of the content. You've got your FAQs, you've got your hero message, your images are saying what you're doing. Boom, you're relevant.
Wow. So let's say you did all that. Our new coaches, they've got their website and it's got, the SEO words that are relevant to exactly what they're doing. They remember to put the text with their images. Their header is really clear. This is what I offer. What happens when somebody comes to the website? What do you want them to be able to do?
So I would say online booking now is absolutely standard. So what you've got to manage is your technical expertise versus customer expectations. People coming to your website are going to want to, if they want to book you, they're going to want to book now. They're not going to have to want to call. They're not going to have to want to send an email. Um, you know, I would venture to say if you built your website on your own, there's a high percentage chance you'll be able to do this. If you haven't and you've got someone working on the sidelines, they'll be able to do it. But tools like Calendly are literally so easy to use. Yeah, they sync with your calendar and it's got a variety of, they work with Microsoft Outlook, Google Mail, all types of calendars. And then that calendar can be presented online and a person can make a booking. That doesn't have to take.
I figured it out. I'm like so not techie. And seriously, once you understand that your Google Calendar, your Outlook, or whatever it is you normally use every day is the hub, and Calendly or Acuity is going to look at that, it literally took me like 15 minutes to set up Calendly. And I outsource all my tech, but that one was easy enough for me. So yes, online scheduling, make it easy, put it up on your website.
Yeah. And the other growing trend, and this is something I'm seeing across even business to business clients, is the use of a messaging service like WhatsApp and having that available that the user can WhatsApp you and just start a conversation. Again, it seems to be more easier for someone to do that than phone or email. And, it's just because the native way of how we use our phones and how we contact people, actually, we're also looking at, learning more about services and suppliers via that route. Again, little widgets can work on your site. A lot of the big platforms have the integration with WhatsApp, so it's actually not difficult to do. It does mean, though, you obviously are a little bit more accessible. So, Sunday night at 9 p.m., you might not want to have a WhatsApp. So that's something to consider as the sort of the availability. But again, most people will wait until you're available, so you don't have to do immediate responses.
Wow. I did not even know that. I'll have to check in. I'm on WhatsApp all the time, but I'm also like, oh, I don't know if I want 100 million people on my WhatsApp. I reserve it for alumni, but there might be something good there. Interesting. And then what about emailing? Because you said people don't email as much. But maybe they still give you your address, like if you want to be able to reach out to them with a newsletter or let them know about your offers.
Yeah, for certain, it's not gone and dead. It's just, trends are changing. So have a little newsletter sign up, offer your email address freely. Um, and you can definitely, again, with there's an array of little the tools out there, or quite often a website is built in with the ability to email the people that have signed up from your website. That a mini newsletter, or you could have uh, a want to be organising things like group workshops or etc. and offering different sort of angles of it's not all one to one. There's some extra things you can do. So yeah, capturing the email address is really useful. And as I say, tools like Mailchimp, they offer really low entry price email opportunities, and again, most websites also have it built in these days. So
Yeah. So if somebody were to give you their email address, what would make it attractive for them to do that? Like, what would you be offering them so that they would be willing to let you contact them?
So this sort of jumps to something that is again something a real consideration. A lead magnet is what we call it. Um, so a taster session, a downloadable meditation, a free half an hour, a thinking around the subject. What would be something to go? Oh, that's a sort of suck it and see it. Try before you buy type route. That is a great way of encouraging people to sign up before you go. I mean, you could have a little email course where, they get an email a day with a sort of coaching, this frame your thoughts today. You can think of a range of things that we do, but it's like a tidbit. I'm
Hmm.
interested, I'm not sure. I'd like to know more. How can you again translate that into something that's easy to make and easy to deliver? Again, a great one would be ask your clients, or if you haven't got any clients, ask your friends and family, because they'll know you and they'll know, oh, yeah, that if you did just that 5 minutes that we do in the middle where we just take a moment and talk someone through that moment, making a podcast or a recording is you can do it on your phone. So it's simple things that that you just would be really useful to someone just to understand a little bit more about what you could gain. Then that also gets people wanting to give their email.
And some people get blocked about it. I mean, it can be really emotional starting out in your business to trust yourself, trust your message. And that's again where I think the community aspect comes in so handy, because I remember the first time I did a Facebook Live post or made a video and it felt like, "Ugh, this is so hard." And like now look at us, we're just podcasting. It's nobody's getting rushed to the ER with heart palpitations or anything. We're kind of doing fine here. But those first steps, it could be fun to just call one of your peers and talk back and forth, do a 5-minute video together and see if you can figure out a little bit of editing and post a 30-second snippet up. Or like you said, doing a meditation, do it with some friends in your house and record it and put it up there. Whatever it takes to get yourself happy and comfortable with your community support, to put some little bit of valuable free stuff out there that
That's
people are
exactly it.
interested.
Another spin on it, Christi, is I've known coaches or similar retract one moment. Getting your website organic visibility is obviously the overall aim in the long term, but actually there are an array of big sites out there that have huge organic power, and one of them is Eventbrite. And you could think about offering a once a month regular event on Eventbrite, which is very niched into what you do. Could well be free as a kind of way to introduce you to a lot, more than just one person at a time. You know, Eventbrite would, is, sessions to help, I don't know, chronic pain. You can craft your event to have that relevance to your niche, have it on a repeating frequency, that then you get people signing up via this sort of hook through a session with you and then that then provides you, it's called a lead funnel, the very top of funnel people that have got they're in your niche that then could potentially become clients. So, if you had 10 people attend once a month to a free workshop and 30% of them became clients, that's 3 people that each month you've taken on to your client base. Those numbers are not unheard of because Eventbrite, people do start searching around on topics and, it could be a group meditation. You could do whatever your element is that's distinct, then you could leverage kind of that platform's power in the search engines, because not only do they have people searching within Eventbrite, but it comes up in the search results really, really easily. So that could be a way
Hmm.
of, capturing email addresses, being introduced to multiple people at once and building that network of potential customers.
I'm a huge believer in group work, because there's something about leading any group that makes you get so clear on your niche. There's something that happens with new coaches that I see, that when you're thinking about getting individual clients, people can stay very fuzzy about, what am I offering? I don't know. I'm offering coaching. I want people to be happier. Just this sort of vague, I want them to have a better life. Well, yes, of course we do. But if you were to gather a group together, what would it be about? And that really helps you to engage your imagination around your purpose. Like, if I could have one thing, and in my early days of coaching, I used to be known as the forgiveness coach. And everything, that all my messaging was around forgiveness. And so I would do these little group, like, forgive your mom workshops. And so people knew, and that was in the days when I was living in Nairobi. And so anybody needed to forgive anybody, it was like, go talk to Christy. She's the forgiveness coach. So it helps you to get known for what you want to be known for when you invite groups. I love that idea to use Eventbrite for your workshops. That's really smart. What else could you do?
I think that probably the unsung hero, believe it or not, is Google Business. So Google Business is a Google tool. Another one I've learned over the years, Google loves Google. So Google Business
They
is,
do.
they do. The Google Business is a place where you can register your business. Now you can, if it's a face-to-face business, register it with your address, or your address can be masked so that people won't know it if you're registering your home. All part of the setup is quite easy to flow. Now, Google Business is another great place where you can source reviews. So it basically is, if you can imagine, just going back to that Google loves Google, you're getting people to write reviews of how good you are in Google. That will immediately have an instant benefit on your website because you've joined everything up. You've created that triangle. The second thing you can do is there is an opportunity to add your services. So you can list off the type of coaching that you offer. Third thing that you can do is you can put pricing in. And then the other thing is, if you're posted on platforms like Facebook or LinkedIn, just take 5 minutes on top of that to then post into Google Business. So Google Business posts can then link to your website. Now, um, if you can imagine, you're linking to a page with, let's say your post is about mind body healing, you're linking to a page where you're referencing, it might be a latest blog you've written or something similar. You've joined the two things up and you've created a link, which is obviously about authority, from a Google tool to your website. Now, I don't want to get everyone excited, but a little story I did want to tell today was I helped a very long-standing friend who was a podiatrist. And she wore her knuckles to the ground for the NHS. And in her later years, she wanted to go out on her own. And I helped her with a website, very basic. And I said to her, the techniques you're going to do from day one is you're going to ask for reviews and you're going to regularly use Google Business. And I set up the foundations of the SEO we had. She was luckily, obviously, had a location to attach the keywords, very much specific. And just been through work through getting reviews on a regular basis, posting in Google Business. In time, her website got to the top of number one in the search engines. And within 6 months, she left the NHS and she still sends me, I get cake and lots of various things at Christmas because I transformed her life for her. It was I didn't charge or anything. I did it because I wanted to help. And, so using Google Business and sourcing the star rating reviews and making the most of that tool has a huge benefit. And so many people don't do it. A lot of people do the reviews, but not many people do the posts and links. And it's recency, frequency of that tool. Publicizing your website can really, really help. And it smashes Facebook and LinkedIn from how it helps you organically.
Wow. I'm just imagining what some folks listening and watching this might be feeling right now. I'm imagining there's just a lot of new information coming in. Like, even when you say top of funnel, some people might be like, what in the world is a funnel? we do teach a little bit about, but if you're imagining a shape like this coming down, one thing that's very relaxing about top of funnel, like those freebies that you're giving out for people to get on your mailing list, is there's no pressure for them to buy. If 1 out of 100 at the top of the funnel ends up being your client, that's amazing. That's really lovely. And so some of this stuff that you're talking about putting out there isn't like buy this now. It really is, you're telling your stories. Like the one you just told would be something that you would want out in the world so that people could say, "Oh, that's really interesting. Somebody else, worked with Nikki and I can trust her. She's doing a great job for Awaken. Why don't I give her a call?" Um, and I think people might get caught in this trap of thinking like, I've got to create content 24/7 and when do I get time to coach? And if I'm hearing you correctly, you're talking about repurposing things. Like if you already are doing an event with Eventbrite, you can post a snippet of that somewhere else or write a little blog about it. And so one piece of content can be used in multiple places. You don't have to be writing all day long and creating new stuff all day long. And a lot of it can be recurring. You give the same exact webinar once a month with different people in it every time. You don't have to constantly create new content. It's more that if we want to do a female metaphor, if it's not about, length and size, it's about repetition, regularity, consistency, the long, slow, repeatable
Yeah,
process.
yeah. I think not throwing terms at you, but if you imagine it as I explain it to clients as a cluster content. So if you have your one good thing, which is your, let's say it's your monthly event on Eventbrite that's bringing in these people that obviously you're not charging. I would recommend you don't charge. Make that as something that's your give back. Um, from there, obviously you can then have, if you tackled 2 or 3 topics, there's 3 blog posts you could write that then become really hugely relevant to send to people afterwards to follow up. Why don't you go and read more about those topics? You then potentially might have a downloadable checklist. Have you thought this point can lead to that? This point can lead to that. Something that's again very stationary, but actually really hugely useful to your hero asset. You then might have, let's say you do some meditation or some, exploration in that. You might have a secondary podcast on along the same lines where someone can get an extra um, element of that course that they've had. You can then obviously each month post on Facebook, LinkedIn, so Google Business to promote your webinar. So if you imagine just by that one thing that will happen each month, you've created, a suite of assets, and then the regularity of the promotion through the social channels. Actually, once you've done it once, it's done. The trick is then, like you say, to reuse and refine. You'll work it out as you go. You'll have a session that you just think, oh, that's worked, and well, actually, how can I then build on that? Or it might be in the first instance, you don't build any of the assets, you trial which webinar has the most traction. So it's don't have everything set in stone. It is try and adapt. But ultimately, once you nail it, you know, uh, in digital marketing, the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I've had one client that used the same ad for three years because it worked. Why am I, it's not necessarily the most glamorous, but if it works, I'm not going to necessarily worry it's old and it's done its task. It hasn't broken. So yeah, it's investment into that first sort of chunk. And then once you've done that, the formula should come together really, really nicely.
Yeah. What else is important to say for today? Or maybe there's a way of kind of summing it up because we've gone through a whole lot of content and we are doing an event with you soon in the Awaken Coaches community. So people will have a chance to come and try some things out and ask their questions. But for today, what would you say would be the key takeaways you want people to go home with?
I think it is know your niche. So if you don't know it, that's starter number one. Make your website, explain that niche in 5 seconds. Be relevant to that niche, and you're in that niche because you want to be there. So what can you add? What questions are there? What monthly webinars are there? Spider diagram it, sit there, and then if you have the blessing of a client already and it's going really well, ask them, could I, pick your brains? Don't try and sit there alone and find it all out for yourself. The end person is a really good place to go. And if that doesn't exist, friends and family, you'll be amazed. And that one diagram will suddenly, oh, I could do that, I could do that, I could do that. So then the point at which where you start getting overwhelmed, that's where you come back to. Right? Think about Nikki talking now. It's relevance. It's say the message really quickly. It's have one really clear hero hook mechanic, whether that's a downloadable podcast, an event, make that and then build out the content around it. Frame it, give it a go. And if it doesn't work out why it's not worked. And don't be disheartened because not every time you can't crack it the first time. But the logic is that niche element and that, what I know from the Awaken coaching is that you've just got to translate that through and the clients will come.
Yeah. And I would say too, like there's really something to be said about doing what you love. I mean, there's so many ways to get the word out there. It could be social media, or it could be events, or it could be, I mean, writing, you name it. For me, showing up on a podcast like this with you is so easy and fun. And I also love writing. So I'm very happy to send out a newsletter every 2 weeks. I'm very happy to get on a podcast every 2 weeks. That's something I can do over and over again, feel super happy about it. Not everyone is me. In fact, I'm the only me that I know of in the world. So somebody else might be like, I really hate writing and I don't want to show my face on a video. That's also fine. You can find your own way because what you're going to want to do is repeat the way you love to do it over and over and over again. So you want to make sure it's something you really enjoy and are happy to serve in that way, whichever way it is that you like to get your message out there and attract people to you.
Yeah. And the other thing is that the only one I would say is as being very much a person that, believe it or not, doesn't like public speaking, doesn't like being in the limelight. There is an element of a little bit of pushing yourself. When I
Yeah.
launched it, the only route at that point was to go digital, be there, present, talk to people, create the opportunities with podcasts, and actually, when you started doing it, it's not so scary. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And maybe my other 2 cents, I guess I have a lot of 2 cents today about this because this has been my journey, and I can't say that business building has been the funnest, easiest part of what I do, but I would say don't go it alone. Like just always hire someone before you're ready. Get someone on your team because frankly, I mean some of us love digital marketing and it's super fun and we like, to get into the tech and the analytics and looking at click rates and all that kind of stuff and somebody shows me a big table of Google Analytics with click rates and I'm kind of like backing slowly away, but have teammates who love it. So just hire someone before you think you're ready and someone who really is good at it and can help you. It's not that hard. Like I think for some of our courses they sell out with a series of 7 or 8 emails that are automated into a nurturing sequence that are linked to an event that we host every 2 weeks. And once you have that process, it runs itself, but setting it up, you might just want to get somebody who knows what they're doing, like Nikki, right? Yeah. Any parting shots, anything that you would love to let people know?
I think we've covered an awful lot. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Sometimes my head struggles to cope with all its knowledge. Even though we've covered a lot, there is still an awful lot else that's available. I think it is, for me, it's, I would say, the collision of what's available out there to say how to market your business can also be quite overwhelming. And, you know, I, as I say, I think zoning in and making sure you've translated the things that we've done today really is, you know, the next stage on from once you've got your website and your business proposition. You know, there are a million things out there if you go and Google how to do this, how to do that. And again, just don't get overwhelmed because there is an
Yeah.
endless pot. And I think,
Don't buy dumb stuff. Man, I did some dumb things in my time, like spending money on Facebook ads before, like, and the Facebook ads were great. People loved them and I got thousands and thousands of clicks. But then I had no idea. There was no system in place behind it, what to do with them once they clicked on something. And so I think just having that knowledge of your website being sort of a central hub point where you need people to have something to do when they get to your website. And once they take that action, you need to have your back and forth communication sequences set up so that you know how to nurture the next conversations and next contacts, and so that they actually have a customer journey that they go on, so they know if they're right to buy whatever it is that you're offering. So there are some pieces that are good to be aware of. And I learned from the school of hard knocks, unfortunately, wasted a lot of money on a lot of dumb stuff. But I think now I get it. Like, oh, that's what your website is for. That's what a funnel is. That's what a nurture sequence is.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
everybody will learn it in due time, but just hire your Nikki, or hire somebody who gets you and who knows how it works, so that you can start simple and build it organically without spending a whole lot of
yeah.
wasted money on stuff.
I think the last word is if you know if you stumble across something that seems too good to be true to market your business, it will be. Yeah, don't get pulled into. There's a lot of we will get you 10 clients and da, 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 and but you have to pay us.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Well,
all of that.
oh, that's another dumb thing that I did, just in case one of these emails, I get hundreds of them now, but fill your calendar with 20 new leads a week. And I actually bought one of those services at one point, and I had so many people filling up my calendar. It did work with a whole bunch of who knows who that were not in my niche, blocking my entire calendar so my clients couldn't even find the session times, and then they all no showed it. And I'm like, okay, don't do that. Anyway, we could tell you lots of things not to do,
Yeah,
but keep it simple, keep it organic, at least from the beginning, and use your friends, use your network as sounding boards. And once you know what you're about, your friends are happy to tell people.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, the word relevance. Just take that one. It's hugely valuable.
Thank you, Nikki. I can't wait for our session with you. We're gonna have fun.
Yeah, so again, this is me immediately going, oh God, yes, I've got to answer lots of questions live next time. So yeah, that'd be lovely to if you can join in that session, and yeah, be happy to
Yep.
give it my best shot.
Awaken people love to talk, and they're very loving people, so they're gonna really enjoy being with you. So cool. Thank you, Nikki.